And we are
And we're
live.
live.
Welcome everyone. I know that we already have like 16 people live, so that's 17 actually. So this is really exciting because today we have an amazing topic. It's basically how to build cybersecurity partnership that truly deliver. I'm super excited for the guest today. He has a lot of experience, so I will introduce him in a couple of minutes. But first, let me just. Well, my name is Ignacio. I'll be your host today. I'm part of Kiflo, the Kiflo team, and I have my colleague Tom. He will be the moderator. So basically, the way that it works is that the format is a live Q&A session. So basically, what we'll do is we'll have subtopics, but you'll have the chance to actually ask your questions before we jump into the next subtopic. So what I will encourage you to do, and we'll start right now, is that you can actually pull the chat there. It's there in the chat. You can just put your questions for the guest, and the guest will make sure that the guest answers your questions. Okay, so we won't wait until the end. That's the beauty of the format today. And also, in order to kind of like before we wait until people join, we already have like 21, which is amazing. Please put in the chat what's your current role. Just let us know what's your position, what are you doing, and so that we give a couple of minutes, and then I'll introduce you to our great guest today. So Veronica from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Nice. Well, our our guest is from Argentina, and I'm from Argentina as well. So that's beautiful. Please let us know in the chat where you're calling or where you're joining today, and what's your current role. Let us know what's your position, what's your current role today. So, Prudvi, hi team. Veronica, awesome. Samuel, hi. Samuel, head of sales from a French startup called Secost. Nice. Welcome, Samuel. We are a French company as well. Andres, sales director, Southern Europe and Latam. Welcome, Andres. Lisa, head of partnerships at a French. We have a lot of French cybersecurity companies.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Bashish, also from India, founder of a cybersecurity company. Welcome, Bashish. Bilal, you're from Dubai, Pakistan, director of product commercial partnerships, Pure VPN. Beautiful. Terry, head of channel. Oh my God, this is
Very
this is
diverse
flooding.
for sure.
Head of channel, Terry. Welcome, Terry. Prudvi, senior partner marketing. Mariana, I'm checking in from Netherlands. Wow, beautiful. Business innovator at Security Reporter. Well, welcome everyone. I think that we already have like 25. So let's kick things off. And I want to welcome today's guest, Ignacio Sbampato. Ignacio has 20 years of experience, global experience doing partnerships, go to market strategies in cybersecurity. So it's a pleasure to have you, Ignacio. Welcome to the session today.
We can't hear you. Are you
I think that
muted, maybe?
you are
Ah,
muted.
You are
Yes.
muted.
I just
Okay.
Usually
needed
it
to do
happens,
it.
right?
Yeah, I just needed to do it because it's part of the world where we are
Let's go
living,
again.
right?
Welcome, Ignacio, to the session today. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Ignacio, for the warm welcome.
Well, Ignacio, it's a pleasure to have you. A lot of people are excited about. I think that the topic today, how to build cybersecurity partnerships that truly deliver, to putting the emphasis on the truly deliver, which is something that we prep today, so that you're going to cover a lot of things that you have experienced from your career and things that really work and things that don't work. So those are things that people are get excited about, and we are really looking forward to those examples today. So maybe we can kick things off with the first subtopic, and then of course we'll have a lot of other things to cover. But understanding the partner dynamics in cybersecurity, that's something that of course it's super important, and you'll describe all the types and roles and things that you think that are key. So all yours.
You know, uh, Currently, partner dynamics and partner types is becoming a little more complex, right? Now, when you see around in the type of partners that you can work with, you have a lot of different types. More of them are like service oriented, more or less are like transaction oriented. In cybersecurity, from my point of view, everything actually starts from the customer. There are like different types of customers. Those are like bigger. They tend to work with the system integrator or a service provider of the trust. Usually these system integrators are large ones. So if you are targeting large enterprises, you need to actually try to target large system integrators. Examples of that, of course, we can go to the biggest ones like Accenture, but in every country you have different ones. Like I see that someone was from France, from Secost, Eviden, Capgemini, Thales, Airbus. Those are some of the biggest system integrators in France, and more than half of the French enterprise customers actually work with those. So trying to develop partnerships in cybersecurity, we really need to take into account that what is the right type of partners to get to the right type of customers that our solution is for, which is a little counterintuitive for many, because we think like, okay, but I want to develop partnerships. So why I need to think about the customer? And it's really because of that. If you develop something that is more for the small and medium businesses, traditional resellers, the ones that usually buy and sell and implement solutions through a value-added distributor, those are like the typical type of channels. But of course, you need to consider that to get to resellers, you need to actually develop relationships with the value-added distributors. It's a complex world today. More and more companies are choosing service providers, those that are managing the IT or those that are managing the security services. But it's more and more common that small and medium businesses are choosing the service providers rather than traditional resellers. So the dynamics are changing all the time. If I may, I will say one more thing. I always talk about in the king makers, those that are making the kings in cybersecurity, because if you want to succeed in cybersecurity, there are basically four types of partners that you need to work with. One is those system integrators, the global or regional ones. Two are really value-added distributors, companies like Ingram, CW. When we go to France in particular, it can be Ignition, or it can be Prianto, or it can be someone like that. But you also need to consider two other things as well. And one of them in these days are the marketplaces. More and more customers and more resellers are actually buying through hyperscalers or marketplaces. And those are from the AWS. Amazon has a huge impact in cybersecurity today, especially in the English-speaking world, but that's moving to Europe as well. Or it can be more local marketplaces. For instance, to Europe now we can see a lot of PAX8 moving that is coming from the US to Europe, or we can see even companies like QBS that is developing their own marketplace, Prianto as well, Ingram Micro as well. So we have quite a bit of different dynamics today. But if I would like to summarize it in one way, is that you need to start from the customer. Once you know who is your ICP, who is the ideal customer, the most important thing is to understand who they work with, who they buy from, who implements the solutions for them. And depending on the type of partner that they usually work with, that's the type of partner that you need to work with. Does it make sense, Ignacio?
It does, and that was super clear. So, for the people that joined recently, please in the chat put the questions for Ignacio, and we'll get those answered during the session, not at the end, but during the subtopic. Okay, so if you have any questions for Ignacio, please use the chat for that. So, do you have any examples of things that you've seen that work really well for those type of partners, Ignacio?
What we need to take into account is that it really depends on the type of solution that you deliver, right? If your solution is easy to implement, easy to install, what you need is to target more the type of partners that are advising or consulting, because you don't need a highly specialized partner. But if your solution requires time with the customer, preparation for the implementation, so there is a big effort on the implementation, you need to target system integrators or the managed service providers. And we need to take into account that not every partnership works. One good example that I like to repeat, someone that works at Softcat, and Softcat is one of the biggest value-added resellers in the UK and one of the biggest in Europe. Someone that works in partnerships and alliances there told me once that out of every 15 new vendors that they start to work with, Now, 2 are great, 3 are good, and the other 10 fail. And that's something that is actually connected to the next topic that we're going to have, if I remember correctly, that is about the alignment between what you deliver and the type of partner. It doesn't mean that the 10 vendors were bad. It means that the right fit was not there between Softcat and the vendor.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. I really like that
Yeah.
kind of like conclusion because it's really helpful. So yeah, if there are questions for Ignacio, please again put them in the chat because the format of the session is a Q&A. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. I think that we already have one, Tom.
Yeah, it's from Prithvi. So Prithvi is asking, how does one leverage cloud security managed service providers? Like, what will be the right ICP to target for building a relationship?
That's I will say, I will turn the question around. Now, the ICP depends on what you have, right? Now, one of the issues that we have in security, especially when we're building and there is not that much experience with partnership, is that we hear a lot about product market fit and that we need to achieve product market fit. But in security, there is always the element of the channel. You can have the product, you have the market, which is the customer, but more than 90% of the revenue worldwide that is generated about security goes through partnerships. So we need to always take into account what is the right channel to get to that ICP. In many cases, the cloud-based managed service providers or the hyperscalers are not the right channel for them. Maybe the right channel is a system integrator that works and delivers for them several projects or several solutions altogether. Now, the majority of the customers that are buying from the hyperscalers are those that are big consumers of the hyperscalers. So customers that are having a big, I will say, big investment on AWS, on Microsoft Azure, they tend to use credits or they tend to expand their bill to buy more solutions from the hyperscalers, and they're used to have their own security team or implementation team that can implement that by themselves. Now, those that have a small security team, those that have a small IT security team, they're not going to buy from the hyperscalers because they're not going to be able to implement by themselves. They're going to need someone else to do it. So it really depends on what is your solution, how easy it is to implement, and then what type of partner you need.
That makes a lot of sense, Ignacio, and it was
We
super
have two more
complete.
questions.
Yes, two more questions, and then
Nice.
we need to move forward.
So the first one is from Veronica. Our solution is E2E solution in which we are in charge of all the implementation and integration. What type of partners do you suggest? We also have our own commercial team, and that might be a conflict with the partners. Thanks.
Yeah, starting from the end, right? Majority of the partners, I would say the more traditional partners, they don't like when you sell direct, right? And that's usually an issue. Now, from the question for me is to decide where you want to sell direct and where you want to go to the channel. Now, one of the common things, especially considering that you are from Argentina, right? Every market is relatively small and everybody knows everyone. My recommendation, especially when you start, is to actually start direct. And people that works in partnerships will actually kill me when I say that. But that initial direct approach is what helps you to learn about what is the right type of partner for ICP. Then, when you are actually developing other markets, you can always develop it indirectly with partners. Usually, you can then translate those learnings from your home market, in this case Argentina, to let's say Chile, Brazil, or another market where you are expanding further, where you start with the partnerships. Now, if you have a B2B solution or enterprise-to-enterprise solution, for me, in general, if you are taking care of the implementation, system integrators are always a good partner, but you can consider consulting companies within your space. Those that are advising your ICP on what to choose, because at the end of the day, they are not going to need to make the effort on the implementation. You are going to do that for them. So then, those are going to be the right partners for you because they are the ones advising the customer what to implement, and you're going to take care of that effort.
Yep. That
We
makes a
have
lot of
two
sense.
more.
Keep them
Nice.
coming. Keep them
Yeah,
coming. But yeah,
we like this.
I think that
I hope
Lisa
the
So
is,
answers are good because we have
yeah,
questions. I hope the answers are good.
the answers are
the
great,
answer is
and I think that
amazing.
Lisa's question is moving ahead with the second subtopic, but we can still answer this one.
Yeah, maybe shortly, and then we can elaborate later. What are the KPIs you're monitoring to check on the partnership's health? And what do you do for the partners that do not have the potential you expected?
Yeah, KPIs in partnerships are complicated, and that's what I think. I know, platforms like Kiflo are actually a great tool. Because you need to have a way to manage multiple partners in one way and be able to measure. Because the how I monitor partnership health has a lot to do with what is the potential. One of the first questions that I ask to any partner is like how many customers they have today that are similar to my ICP. If they have 10, they have 50, they have 100. Now, what I want to do is to have the highest penetration in the customers that they already have. That's my initial KPI to measure partnership health. But I need to know first if the partner has enough customers that are equal to my ICP, and then I want to know how many we are penetrating. If during a period of time, let's say 3 to 6 months since we started the relationship, I don't see that penetration moving, I already know that the health is not good. I need to see that we have POCs, that we have proof of values, that we have demos for those initial customers that they have that are equal to my ICP. That's the one that I like to monitor as soon as possible, and it requires that I know that how many customers the partner has connected to my ICP.
That's a great tip. It's actually like building addressing your TAM. You know
Yeah.
exactly from that specific partner how many potential you could actually convert, which is super smart. So we have a
Yeah,
last one, and
and if I can, it's like many times we sign a partner and we don't
yes,
ask the right questions, and this is one of the first questions. You need to know if they are the right partner for my solution and how many customers they have today. Because if we want them to go to get new customers, well,
yes,
it's going to be problematic. We need to start with the existing customer base that they have.
yeah. Maybe we can
Perfect.
address Bilal's, and then we
Yeah,
need to
and
move
then we
with the
can,
next topic.
yeah. So Bilal is asking, how do you see the VPN market for cybersecurity enterprises looking to integrate VPN technology into their existing products, extend their offerings, and increase revenue and reduce churn?
Oof, this is tough. I hope you don't mind me that I'm a little bit straightforward, because I am like that. I think VPN is quite a legacy type of technology for some types of customers. Okay, now the challenge with VPN is that it doesn't provide the granular management that other solutions provide. What is happening today is, if you see on the enterprise segment, many customers are actually moving away from VPN to start to implement more mature identity and access management solutions like privileged access management and secure access that give them more granularity. Now, when we talk about SMB type of customers or consumer type of customers, VPN today is usually part of most of the endpoint security suites because it's something that customers kind of expect. But there are too many options. It's quite a red ocean, in my opinion. So I think like every relevant endpoint security provider should have a VPN, but it's because they need to provide it, not because it's going to be a great opportunity for them to increase revenue. My personal opinion, okay?
We want your opinion, Ignacio, so that's perfect. Okay,
Okay,
so
time to move on.
let's move on. And before we jump into the next subtopic, we have a poll for the audience. So let's just bring it. So, what's your number one challenge in managing partnerships right now? So please let us know. It's super simple to vote, but this will give an idea to Ignacio of how are things on your side today. So recruiting the right partners, diving the partner engagement and enablement, structuring incentives and margins, measuring ROI and providing value, or reducing complexity and friction. So please both let us know. I think that we already have a clear kind of like winner, which is driving partner engagement and enablement, which makes a lot of sense. I would say that most partner programs fail here and die slowly. Um, Recruiting the right partners, that's key and critical, but let's just wait. Let's give one more minute for the votes to come in. So 70% driving partner engagement and enablement, maybe 30 recruiting the right partners. So yeah, what do you think about this, Ignacio?
Yeah, I think it's the people that attended today have the problems that most of us are having all the time, right?
Yes.
And it makes sense. These are the typical ones. For me, if you want that we go straight to the topic of driving engagement, right?
Mm,
Now there are two key elements in my opinion that many vendors don't take into account. First is that you need to have a dedicated person on your side to work with the partners. If you have at least a dedicated person, one that is just dedicated to work with partners, there is not going to be any way that you drive engagement, because you need to be in constant and regular, and you need to be constantly and regularly communicating and thinking about partners. You need to be if you don't have that internally, then of course that's a common mistake. Many vendors that are starting, they have a chief revenue officer, chief sales officer that does everything, that is responsible for direct, indirect, strategic partnerships, technology alliances, and everything else. You need certain type of person for partnerships. It's not the regular hunter that is trying to sell to direct customers. It's someone that is more a relationship type of person that is able to build relationships and communicate regularly. Then on the other side, there is a very common mistake that we do as vendors, is that as part of our initial approach to the partners that we have, we don't identify an internal champion. We don't understand if we are relevant to the partner. We start to work, let's say, with a value-added reseller. We can talk like we can mention Softcat again, okay? If Softcat doesn't have a person that is our internal champion, our direct point of contact, someone that will be moving our product and making our product relevant for the organization and the customers, it's not going to move. So, and it's one of the first steps that we don't identify. And it's a very, very common issue. And that internal champion in general, it cannot be, and it doesn't need to be some C-level. It needs to be someone that actually has the time and has the passion and has the abilities to move inside the organization to promote internally our product. In some cases, when we work with big ones, we need to pay for that. We need to actually get a funded head. But in many other cases, it's just some sales engineer, salesperson that is passionate about the topic of that we cover. Those are very common issues, because then what happens is, if you don't drive engagement in the first 3 to 6 months with a medium to large partner, forget about that partner. Move to the next one, because you are not going to drive it later. And you need to start with this thing, having people that talks to people to be able to move it internally.
Completely agree. Wanted to deep dive a little bit there, because of course, you work with a lot of your clients and you've seen these mistakes, of course. Can you
Yeah.
give us kind of like one that you saw that it was kind of like they are going really, really kind of like to fail, and then something changed and then it was a success?
Yeah, and I recently, for the last year, I'm working with a European company that is where they're developing value-added distribution in different parts of the world. And we actually started great, because they have a very interesting value proposition, something new that is current, that solves a new problem. We signed more than 10 different distributors in different parts of the world. When I mean value-added distribution, is a distributor that actually provides some service. They're able to not only just transact our product to their resellers, but on top of that, they provide a service. We signed them, we got them excited, everything was great. But then what happened? With many of these value-added distributors, there was no clear champion internally, and there was no alignment on the way of working. What we expected as a vendor from the distributor to do. There was an expectation that the distributor will just move by itself and know what to do, but it's a new topic, and when there is something that is a new topic to their portfolio, there are a lot of little internal obstacles. You need an internal champion. You need to understand the sales process that they have, how to promote to how they promote to the resellers, what actions do they do, how do they transact, and by not agreeing those things at the beginning, really it took more than 6 months to get these distributors to get to promote and sell our solutions. Once we started back from the beginning and identified the champion, and we had very direct conversations with them about what were our expectations and what we expected, from them, and what they expected from us. Then we were able to turn this around, and we started to see how the revenue came. But everything went out from not starting quickly enough, identifying those champions and the process to work with them.
That's the main takeaway, I think. Like if
Yeah,
if you take something from today's session, that's it. That's it, because
yeah.
that's the key. I think that we got a lot of questions for you.
Yep. We got like 4 questions for you. Yeah. So let's not waste any more time. Saktiva wants to ask, he actually wants to gather your insights in the current market potential for CD, WAN products and services, particularly when integrated with SIM-based router gateways. How do you see the demand and adoption trends?
This, I'm not. This is not the market. This is not the sector of the market that I follow so much to be able to give you a great answer on this. More than happy that if you want, write me later and we can try to discuss it and I can share something,
We will
with you,
share
right?
Ignacio's contact
Yeah.
afterwards, so
Yeah.
everyone can take their questions as well offline.
So next one is from Lisa. She wants to know, how do you navigate when the partners impose a person as your interlocutor that doesn't act like a champion?
Oh, that's a beautiful case. Actually, I'm dealing with a case exactly like that with someone. Like So very recently, like a person that was in charge in a partner actually changed, and that person had a lot of different priorities, right? For me, we always need to have at least three different contacts within a partner. Sometimes that's the same person, but at least we need to have like these three different contacts. We need to have someone that is a decision maker. We need to have this champion, and we need to have like I will say, a technical expert as well. Sometimes they're the same person, okay, but it doesn't necessarily is. And the most important role of having a contact with a decision maker is to be able to solve the situations that you mentioned. Because the question at the end of the day is to show the decision maker how much money they're supposed to do with you to get them motivated to support you when you are having issues with that champion or that point of contact that they assign to you. Now, in many cases, you can request for a change, or you can ask that person to focus in a different topic that you bring up. But if you don't have like those three contacts, these situations you cannot solve. At the end of the day, everyone that is working in any place, they are doing it because they expect some reward. They expect something to come out for them. And sometimes is that we are not setting up the right incentives for that person to work with us. We need to work with the decision maker and then to find what is the incentive to get them to like to work with us.
I love that triangle. I mean, that's another takeaway. That's a bomb that you actually just dropped, which is like decision maker is key in order to move things forward, strategic, but also you need that champion, kind of like the POC for every day, and then the partner ops basically, which is the people that are
Yeah.
actually doing the work.
Okay, next question from Dennis. In regions where there is already a good partner ecosystem, what are some of the key factors to consider before bringing in multiple distributors? Specifically, how can we ensure this adds scale and coverage without creating overlap or channel conflict?
This is a beautiful question because I was making myself exactly the same question around 10 to 12 years ago. Now, when I was working at ESET, all the sales were indirect. We were working all the time through some distribution, or we had like a local office in particular countries. And our way of starting at ESET was exactly, let's develop a lot of direct resellers. In some countries, we could have like 2,000 to 3,000 resellers working directly with our team, which is crazy because at the end of the day, the majority of them don't transact. You don't have the way to work with them. So we evaluated what to do, how to do it, and how to implement this two-tier distribution model. That is basically what you mentioned. You have an ecosystem, and you want to consider to a distributor. Why we did it. If we have too many resellers that only transact from time to time, they make us lose time with the support because they don't provide enough value to us, but we don't want to lose them. Those are all the resellers that we move to work with the distributor. We kept some that we actually decided were like the strategic or the platinum or whatever were like the most important, that were transacting with us regularly, they were promoting our product, and then we moved everyone else to a distributor. The important topic here is that distributor was someone where at the beginning we had a funded head, because we needed to make sure that the distributor will care about our partners and not move them to other solution. That's very important. You sign a distributor, yes, I want to move my resellers to work with them, and then they don't work with you anymore. So the important thing, to try to sum it up, it makes sense. You are scaling. You don't have enough time to work with all your ecosystem. And of course, the only way to do it forward is to get a good distributor. But if you don't have control with what happens when you move your ecosystem to transact with a distributor, I wouldn't recommend it. It needs to be a distributor where you can have some level of control. Otherwise, you're going to end up losing over time.
That's great. People are flooding the chat. Just to let you know, Ignacio. So this is super
Yeah, I can
valuable.
see it now. I just
Yeah,
opened it. It's great.
it's crazy, but keep them coming because I think that this is super valuable. So Tom, all yours.
Okay, so Venkat, what could be the lean GTM we can suggest to MSPs and resellers?
I'm a big believer in events. Okay, so at the end, for me, there are two ways to start in cybersecurity. If you have a partner, the target is the existing customer base of that partner. We need to make sure that the partner offers and promotes our product with their existing customer base. For that, what I said before, there needs to be a partner that has as many customers, similar to our ICP as possible. Then I think I'm probably old school, but I see the results happening. I still think that in partnerships, the face-to-face and building relationships are very important. For me, a very lean GTM is to do as many events as possible. Online is fine, but I like breakfast, lunch, dinners, cocktails, networking events. It doesn't need to be to spend a lot of money in a big event. Something that gives us the chance to provide some value to our resellers and their customers, get an expert to present how they can use your solution to solve problem A, B, or C, but to have a way to show them that you exist, that you physically are a company, not some other website somewhere else where there is no people working. I think this personal relationship at the beginning through events and conferences is the most successful approach that you can have in go-to-market in cybersecurity, because still cybersecurity is about trust, and for trust you need to build relationship, and that relationship, the best way to do it is face-to-face in the same place. So my recommendation is always start with events, any type of events. You don't need to spend a lot of money. One example, Spain. Once a year there is an event called ESET. It's organized by the local National Cybersecurity Center. The cost to be there, if you are a startup, is 750 euros. You don't even need to spend on the booth, because everyone gets the same booth. Now, if you're an established vendor, 1.5k euros. So 1,500. That's no money. And you are there. And you are in front of pretty much most of the Spanish cybersecurity industry.
Amazing.
That's great. Thank you for asking so many questions, Bilal, especially you. Unfortunately, we still have a lot to cover,
Let's choose
but we
one.
can,
Let's choose
yeah, we
one.
can answer one of your questions, and then feel free to connect with Ignacio on LinkedIn or via the form we're going to share later, and I'm
Yeah.
sure he'll be happy to help. But we can answer one of your questions, as said, maybe the first one. Which partnership models have you yielded the highest? Have yielded the highest LTV for you, and why?
Whew, I think everything that is, it's always easier when it's the stickiest solution. And sticky, I mean something that is difficult to replace, right? I spent 20 years working in antivirus to endpoint security company. There is nothing more easy to replace at the moment. You uninstall and you install a new one. It's super easy. Now, you were giving examples like OAM and SDKs, right? OAM is beautiful, okay? Because it's very difficult to replace an OAM solution that you have implemented within your product. The problem is that usually margins can be very, very low. I think at this moment, the one that has the longest one is when you work with a managed service provider or an MSSP. When you are part of the offering that they provide to their customers, now that's the one that I see how the lifetime value is the one that is the longest at the moment, at least with the cybersecurity sectors that I work with. You are part of their default portfolio, that's the one that they sell to their customers. If you are a core part of that, it's very difficult that they're going to replace you, they're going to keep you there, and they're going to be the ones deciding is them, not the customer.
Great. And we have, before we move on to the last subtopic, we have one more from Marwan. As a young startup specializing in dark web monitoring, what's the most effective strategy to attract and secure partnerships with major resellers?
I'm actually working with a company that works in dark web monitoring, and it's another red ocean market today. And you have a lot of very strong players, and then you have a lot of smaller startups. For me, the question is, what is really the differentiator that you have in your data? Because it really depends on that. Not every company like yours has the same quality of data for every vertical or every geography, right? So you need to focus on what is the asset for that. And I give you an example. The ESET is a Slovak company, and we had a threat intelligence solution for 10 years, but it was not really working very well because there were a lot of leaders. The moment that the conflicts between Russia and Ukraine and the war started, that started to show to international companies that the intelligence being provided by the big players, the big American players, was useless when it came to this conflict. Because in these particular countries, the leader was ESET. So we had the best intelligence, and that's what really helped us to start to increase ourselves. So I think what is important is, what is the quality of the data that you have in terms of verticals and geographies? Focus on the best quality data that you have, and then based on that, you need to find partners that are providing services and being part of the offer to, let's say, if you have best data about the financial sector, focus on those that are the system integrators that are working with the financial sector. If you have best data about a particular geography, focus there. Buyers know that nobody has the best data all over the world. So that's where you need to focus.
Prithvi has another question, but maybe we should continue with the next subtopic and then answer it at the end. You're muted, Ignacio. Nacho.
Sorry,
Which
it
Ignacio,
happens.
right?
Now, what I was going
So
to
he's
suggest is
Nacho.
let's move on because we are aware of the time, and then Prithvi will answer your question after the topic. Okay, so bear with us. So before we move into the next subtopic, we have a poll. So let's bring that poll. So, do you feel your product service has a clear product channel market fit? So, meaning, yes, it's strongly, somewhat still evolving, not yet working on it, or unsure, new to the concept. So, please let us know so that Ignacio can actually give us a better kind of like tailored answer or subtopic towards this. So, yes, strongly seems like 50%, somewhat 10%, not yet working on it, more than 30%. So seems like 60% yes, 50-ish, and then around 30 not yet working on it. So Ignacio, what do you think about this?
This is great. Honestly, I think, in my opinion, it's a little bit higher than what I'm used to. Many companies,
Are
especially at the
still,
beginning, so maybe we
yeah,
have people, there are so many options these days. That's the problem, to
yes.
pick out the channels. And there's so many options. But it's great. It's great to hear, because for me the topic is like, if you have a good fit between product, channel, and market, that means that you talk with your customers, with the end user, often. Because the only way to know that you have the right channel to reach to them, in terms of resellers, service providers, and so on, is that you know your customer well. So that's congratulations on that. Usually when you don't have it, is because you are not out there talking with potential customers as regularly as you should. That's another place where I recommend events. People need to get out, talk to people, and so on. Now, for me, as I said, everything starts from the customer, and then when we think about the partnerships, it's about the value that everybody involved gets, and that's another topic that I like to explain when it comes to how to build successful partnerships. If you talk about value, we need to deliver value for ourselves, for the partner, and for the customer. And value in a relationship with a partner is really connected not only about how much money they can make on paper, but also how much effort they need to put to generate that revenue with your product. Now, maybe you have an amazing product that every customer that they sell to, it will going to be 100,000 euros a year, and they're going to be very happy. But now, if the effort to sell that is too much, they're never going to sell. And for me, I know there are like those three elements that had to do with really the margin or the money that they make working with you, the effort that they need to dedicate to be able to be an expert on your solution and convince their customers to buy it, and then the delight, the happiness, what is extra about working with your brand. Now, those are the three variables that we need to consider when we are developing relationships. And it's very common that maybe you have the best solution in the market, technically speaking. But when you talk with experienced partners, they really don't care about what is the best solution. They want to have a solution that is good enough, that covers the bases, but doesn't make them lose too much time, or that the time that they invest is really comparable with the money that they're going to get at the end, and the rewards that they're going to get from working with you. Now, many companies focus on having the best technology. Now, what you need is to have a technology that is good enough for your partners to make and generate value for themselves and for their customers. And that's something that we always need to take into account. Best technology, great price, that doesn't mean successful partnerships. The effort that they need to put into the partnership is really what drives a lot of the decisions at the end.
I love that. I love that. It's kind of like keep it simple, and also that triple win. It's always where you want to be. Like that. That's the holy grail.
I can give you like a super quick example that
Of
is
course.
connected to the topic of enablement that someone was answering. There is a new vendor called Cribble. Cribble is an American vendor that is in the topic of telemetry, or efficiency, and observability. Very specific new type of field, right? Their partners love Cribble. Is it because they can make more money with Cribble? No. Is it because the brand is well known? No. Is it because everybody needs that type of solution? No. It's because they have something that is called the Cribble Bible. And the Cribble Bible is one super big document that is being maintained and updated regularly with all the ways that you can solve any problem or any situation when you are implementing. So then the technical people at the partners, all they need to do, they don't need to try, they don't need to contact support, they go to the Cribble Bible, and they always find the answer there. Every Cribble partner I talk with, they are self-sufficient, they always find the answer in this Cribble Bible. And that's one thing that is making them very successful, that people doesn't take into account, and it has to do with this topic of the effort.
Exactly.
Great.
Makes a lot of sense. Tommy, maybe we can cover the questions that were pending, and if there are any new, because
Yes.
we are aware of the time as well.
Yes, of course. So Prithvi's questions gonna go first. So Prithvi wants to know, how do you build complete engagement with partners? What can be the few activities that one can do to keep partners occupied with the right set of engagement activities?
Building on what I was saying before, right? If you ask your partners for too many, I'm gonna do it the other way around. If you ask your partners for too many reports, and you want to have a weekly call to discuss opportunities, and you make them spend too much time on the administration part of the relationship with you, the engagement is gonna be low, and eventually they're gonna even not attend those calls. That's why that's another place where I think platforms like Kiflo can help you, right? Because they can do that part of the work, so you don't need to make the call. You can have it there. I always believe on the power of personal relationships. Some of the things that we were doing at ESET that were the best was we were doing regular events with our partners. We were doing open days in our offices. we were doing webinars for them to show them how to solve any problem that they were having, like regularly. But on top of that, what partners need from you and what they want from you is that you give them the opportunity to make money. So if you generate opportunities for them, you give them leads, the engagement is going to be high. Good qualified leads, the engagement is going to be high. If you don't make them engage too much with your support because your product is difficult to implement or to service, the engagement is going to be high. The easiest that you make for them to make money with their existing customer base, and you give them a way to increase that customer base even further with leads that you generate through events and other activities, the engagement is always going to be higher. But if it is built on top of that regular relationship, if you haven't talked with your top 10 partners in the last month, there is something wrong. You should do it. You should regularly talk, but don't make it only about the process. Make it about getting to know more about what is the motivation that they have to work with you and build upon that motivation.
I love
Very
that. I
nice.
love that.
Yeah,
Talk to your partners. That's important.
exactly.
Talk
Communicate.
regularly and communicate with your partners and get the most of what they
Yeah,
actually want to achieve.
yeah.
That's a beauty.
And in case you
One
want to
more from
communicate
someone,
with
right?
Ignacio after this webinar ends, so you have the contact form. You can reach out to him, and he will actually
Yes.
be happy enough to chat with you.
Yeah.
Uh, and thank you for that, Ignacio. One last question to answer is from Samuel. So Samuel wants to know, when onboarding a new partner, would you recommend using the prepaid amount as an incentive to drive the partner's commitment to selling your product?
This is an interesting question because I know it really depends on who you are and what you offer. When you are starting, it's very difficult that you're going to get any partner to prepay anything because nobody knows you, so they don't want to pay. And even if you are known in one country, when you go to the other country, if nobody knows you in that country and you ask them for some commitment, prepayment, or whatever, then they're not going to be happy. I'm still a believer that you need to give first to get something from the partner. And I think that that's where it's important when you're onboarding, not to make, if you ask for a prepayment, a commitment, money at the beginning, you're actually adding an obstacle. You're increasing the effort that they need to make. I personally never recommend that, and I see it as usually a problem for many newer vendors. It's like, we didn't even start to work and you already are asking me for money. I didn't make anything from you. Now, when you are a vendor that is already known, yes, of course, the prepayment is a way to show the commitment. If a partner is willing to pay for you even before they make any revenue, yes, that's how you see that the commitment is there. They're going to have it. But if you ask in advance before they make any money with you and you gave them any lead, and it's really another step on the way to build a successful relationship with them.
I completely agree with you, Ignacio. Be a giver. That's always just provide value first, and then the rest will come and you can ask.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
one
one more.
example of one distributor,
Yes.
one vendor that I'm working with. They have a prepaid model, and they started working without a prepaid model. And three of their partners were actually failing. The other ones were moving okay, but three of their partners in some countries were actually failing. They were not really starting. Of course, the moment that the prepayment kicked in, because the prepayment was supposed to start 6 months after the relationship started, yeah, of course, that motivated them to start, because the ones that were failing there was the partner. The partner didn't do anything during those 6 months, or not good enough, so they felt the responsibility to pay despite they were not generating the results. And that's a real life scenario. In my opinion, you start without asking, as Ignacio was saying, and then you start to build later on that.
That's great, and a great way to wrap it up because we are on time. I think that Bilal has another question, but please, Bilal, get to the CTA there, the contact, and please share the question with Ignacio and everyone in the audience. If you have any more questions for Ignacio, please contact him, and he will be
Yeah.
able to help you. And thanks for doing this. And also, I think it was one of the most engaged sessions that we had so far. So thanks
Definitely.
for your questions, and thanks, Ignacio, for answering those. It was really, I think it was super valuable, and hopefully it was for the audience. So thanks again for sharing your knowledge and for taking the time to do this. And for the audience, it was a pleasure having you and hosting you. So keep an eye for the next one. We'll have great guests in November. And again, a pleasure to have you all. And well, anything else that you want to add, Ignacio, before we wrap it up?
No, thank you very much, and feel free to contact me in the same way with my partners. I'm always available. You can write me, and I'm going to answer. No, very, very happy to be here.
Amazing, amazing. It was a
Amazing.
real pleasure. And Tom, thanks again. As always, it's a real pleasure. And for everyone here or watching the recording, a real pleasure hosting you and looking forward to the next one.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.